And like the stuff with like his balls and things, it's just like
balls and things.
It's like
let's not get technical here.
I know what it's doing, but I don't.
It's making you hard.
But I don't love that stuff. It's making it hard to be hard.
Stuff.
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence. For I am the Watcher, member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 701,306. I am your host, Andrew, and joining me as always is my co-host, Seth. Our third co-host, Joe, couldn't be here today because he walked into oncoming traffic because he was too busy reading the newspaper.
Joe just walking into oncoming traffic. Classic Joe.
And our fourth co-host, Uatu, is here but is sworn only to watch and never interfere.
Classic Uatu. So today we watched Daredevil, which originally premiered February 14th on Valentine's Day. 2003, written by Mark Steven Johnson and directed by Mark Steven Johnson. So many writers and directors. In this one, Andrew, a man blinded by toxic waste, which also enhances remaining senses, fights crime as an acrobatic martial arts superhero. Did you watch, I assume you watched the same one as me because I told you it was on HBO. Did you watch the R-rated director's cut?
I don't know which one that was on HBO.
It was the not director's R-rated cut. So we missed out on probably some wicked sex scenes and some cool blood, but we saved ourselves 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something. So Andrew, in a sense or less, what'd you think?
This is the coolest movie we have watched on this show. Unfortunately, it sucks.
I don't know what you're talking about in the first half, but it is the most fucking boringest film series of pictures rapidly whipped through my mind.
What I mean by cool is not that I thought it was cool. I mean it is like Hot Topic cool. It is aggressively trying to be cool.
I mean, you can't get away with that post-grunge, early thousands.
I did not find this movie cool. I'm saying this movie is just trying so hard to be cool.
I think badass is the term the kids use.
It's also, for all these movies that I see, the runtime is 2 hours or less. I mean, these feel so long. How do all the shortest movies we have watched on this are all the ones that feel the longest? I probably agree, but for whatever reason, it didn't feel super long. This is weird. This is going to be totally hypocritical. I don't necessarily think it felt way longer than it actually was, but it was so boring. And I can't imagine why I didn't come out of it being like, oh, it felt so long. It just felt more boring than long to me. And I did have some kind
TV.
Of one and the same.
Yeah, I mean, they should be. And that's how I usually deal with it. But I did have some TV troubles. So I had to move upstairs at like the halfway point because it was not showing me the movie. But I mean, when I was at the halfway point, I was like, oh, thank God I'm already at the halfway point, as opposed to, oh my God, I'm only at the halfway point. But I was still just sitting there being like, this is so boring. I don't care about any of this stuff. Okay, we already watched Elektra. I assume Elektra's going to go up before this. Elektra, I didn't like, but I feel like I had more fun watching Elektra. I didn't think there was a lot of like, so bad it's good, or even just... There was a couple funny moments I could dig into.
I think I'm in the same boat. I was thinking the same thing.
I assume it hit you like Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I barely remember Elektra, but I kept thinking like, I think I had more fun with Elektra, because Elektra's not good. It's very, very bad. And I think the problem is like, this is bad, but it's like not like so bad it's funny, or so bad that it's really just bad. It's mostly just so boring it's bad. It's like kind of fine in a way. But like, Elektra was at least like weird and bad, which made it kind of like goofy to watch. But like this is like so trying hard to be edgy. The action is impossible to follow.
It's really hard to follow.
It's like murky and dark at all times.
He's constantly fighting Hollow Man, and it's impossible to tell what's happening.
It is horrible. His echolocation looks real bad, and it looks, I think, the worst at the end when he's fighting Michael Clark Duncan. It's before he turns on the sprinklers, but he just like sees him as an echolocation, and he's like frowning, but he looks like a gigantic baby fetus. And it's real weird. It's also like super disjointed. We are introduced to Bullseye. Actually, I think Fisk says, "Get me Bullseye," and then we don't see Bullseye for like a scene and a half. Then we're introduced to Bullseye, and then we don't see him for like another
Until
like
the
third
climax
of the movie. And then he shows up in like the dumbest badass scene ever filmed, and then he leaves, and then he doesn't show up again until the end. And also like when he shows up before the ending, he tells Fisk, he's like, "I want a costume," and then he shows up in the exact same thing he was wearing before.
Okay, apparently I was reading all my stupid trivia stuff. Apparently in the R-rated cooler version that we didn't watch, he says, "I want a fucking costume." They use their one F word there. Oh, I guess it's R-rated. They can use as many F words as they want. But he says, I want a fucking costume. And I thought, why would he want, what? I don't get this. But then when he doesn't show up with a costume, I was like, okay, now I really don't get this. Why even bother?
I don't understand. So I think Colin Farrell as Bullseye is the best thing in the movie, which is a very, very low bar.
That's what people say. And I like Colin Farrell. And I know he plays like, they cast him because he's feral in a lot of his stuff. But my Colin Farrell is like stupid in Bruges, where he's not crazy, and I did not think he was good. He was over the top in this, and totally
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's good. I'm saying he's over the top.
But apparently people loved him in this.
In a movie that is like so boring, he's at least like doing something.
He's chomping that scenery.
He is absolutely chewing that scenery
His
to pieces.
first like introduction scene where he's in the bar and he's throwing darts, and then he like, that guy makes fun of him, and he takes off his... Okay, first off,
I don't understand his target on his forehead.
Well, that's what Hawkeye has. I don't understand Colin Farrell as like a gangster man, like Eminem. He has like the leather jacket and a bunch of piercings, and he has
because it's badass.
The toque. It's just like, I don't get this. What are you doing? You look so stupid.
He looks super stupid. I don't understand. Like I said, I don't understand his stupid like.
He looks like he's
not a
compensating
tattoo
for things.
Well,
no, it's it's like a scar.
I know, but it's like a weird like branding scarf thing that doesn't make any sense and looks so stupid. It's also, I loved his stupid rattlesnake skin jacket with like the armpits cut out, and every time he like flung it around, it rattled like a snake. It's so stupid, and that tickled me. He also like apparently can just like disappear because he would just go whoosh, and then he would just like be gone from the scene.
I wish I could do that. He had his belt buckle that had like shurikens in it or something. I don't know. I didn't
it's
like
nonsense.
When he fights Daredevil and he like throws his one little shuriken and Daredevil dodges it and he's like, "I never miss." I was like, I know that's your thing, but I don't understand this. I can't do this right now. Why are you doing this? Like you said, he gets like introduced in his motorcycle where he stands on top of it. God knows why, because there's a sweet ass post grunge rock track behind him. This is a mess. The only thing... Okay, so I have seen this. I assume you have too.
Yeah.
The only thing I remembered...
I think I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I only saw it once, and I saw it on like video in a buddy's basement.
I went to go see it in the theater with my dad and my brother.
The only thing I remembered was Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck fighting, two grown-ass fucking adults fighting in a children's playground.
How weird is the entirety of...
The movie! Just say it.
The movie. The movie is paced terribly. It opens up with that weird...
In media res...
Yeah, super aggressive, like, look at all this blood dripping down the Virgin Mary. Oh, it's so badass. And then he, like, slowly slinks down into the church until he's a foot off the ground, and then he just plummets.
How about that's our introduction to our hero? Okay, I get it.
That's all, like, in theory fine, but then it cuts to the longest origin ever. That's all sepia, and then it cuts from that to just, like, his daily life.
It's awful.
It's so bad. It's so poorly paced. It's like complete nonsense. The Kingpin is a non-entity until like the ending of the movie where he's like the big bad after the movie's fucking over.
I think halfway through, when I had to move upstairs because her downstairs TV wasn't working, whoa, look at Mr. Moneybags over here. I think I could not tell you what the plot was. I didn't know what was happening.
It is just a semblance of scenes that look cool.
There's a point, there's like some of it is just like, okay, I gotta like vengeance for my papa. But he doesn't know it's Fisk, and he's not necessarily hunting that vengeance down. It's just like something in the back
No.
of his head. There's a brief moment where he's like, maybe I am the murderer. And everyone in the theater is like, fuck yeah, hell yeah, you are. You had a crazy line where you threw somebody onto the train track and you were like, that's not the light of heaven, that's the sea train. It's like, this is my hero? This is who I'm rooting for? Are you kidding me?
How about when he murders a guy in cold blood, gives a stupid badass line, and then apparently dumped gasoline in the shape of 2 Ds?
What a fucking wild man. This is our hero. This is our guy who's like,
And he does that going like, at some point somebody's going to light a match and toss it on it, and it's going to look so cool.
Oh, yeah, you think he's up there and be like, throw the freaking match, you idiot, or I'll kill you. Like at the end when...
Do I have to throw the match?
At the end when the newspaper writer is like, I'm not going to reveal Matt Murdock's name as Daredevil. And then he walks out and he like salutes Daredevil. I mean, was Daredevil going to kill him if he wrote that?
Oh, boy. I like how it ends with the hero bit where he's like, I'm not going to reveal Matt Murdock's identity as Daredevil because he's the hero that we need. And he goes out and he's like, go get him, Matt. And then Matt's like, you got it, buddy. And he runs off and I was like, he's done nothing but murder people and then beat up a guy in his penthouse. Like, he hasn't really stopped crime. He hasn't done anything.
It's even crazier when he murders that guy because it comes off as... So for those who haven't watched the movie in, I don't know, 9 years, 19 years, I don't know. It starts off and he's doing lawyer things.
No, it starts off and he's on top of a church. Then it goes to his origin. Then he does lawyer things.
Anyways, he does lawyer things when I think the movie's supposed to be starting.
When the movie should have started.
When the movie should have started. And like, I don't know. Maybe it's me and I can't handle real world issues. I thought it was a bold choice to just be like, this guy's a rapist. Here we are in our comic book movie and our rapist trial. But anyways, he gets off. The rapist gets off. Not like that,
Yeah,
but
he
in
does.
a justice way, in a non-justice way. And then Matt Murdock goes and kills him as Daredevil, the superhero. But it comes off as Matt Murdock being like, fuck this judge. He doesn't know what's up. I'm going to murder this guy. Like, it's a real weird tone. And I was reading in the trivia stuff that, like, I am not a big Daredevil guy. I read, like, Wade and Rivera's run in probably 2008.
Samney's run?
Yeah. And I know people love... I assume they talk about the Man Without Fear a lot, so I assume this is kind of based off of the Man with No Fear, but I don't know any of it. But he seems real intense. And I know that's why people love the Netflix show, is because it's bloody and it's real intense. Mm-hmm. But like,
he's super intense.
This was like not a fun superhero story.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's cool. It's badass.
He murders
he's so
a guy.
aggressive.
He murders so many people.
I also, like, his powers make no fucking sense. Like, the echolocation is fine, but, like, it doesn't make sense, but it's fine. Like, the rain thing is stupid as all sin, but whatever. But at the beginning, when he was like, all my senses were heightened, and through a, like, super cool sense of touch, he literally says, because his sense of touch is so good, his equilibrium is amazing, and also he can, like, punch a punching bag a billion times, which is, like, an absolutely insane scene where he's, like, 6 years old and just, like, wailing on this thing because he's blind, but he can, like, echolocate it. But then, like, they show him just, like, flipping off of everything, and he jumps, like, 30 feet into the air onto another building, and there's that scene at the beginning where he, like, destroys a window washer thingy.
Just for the heck of it.
Because he, like, jumps down and, like, jumps off of, like, 6 more, and then flings into the sky. It's, like, complete and utter nonsense. And it's, again, like, that was where I was like, this is so aggressively cool. Because it's, like, so nonsensical and so stupid, but in a way that you could tell they thought was badass.
But isn't that Frank Miller's Daredevil? Is Frank Miller's Daredevil badass?
I remember Frank Miller's Daredevil being, I don't know if badass is a term, but like...
Dark.
It was like the Dark Knight, or not the Dark Knight, Batman Year One and all that kind of stuff where it was just like, we're going to take this silly superhero and turn him into a serious thing for big boys. Because there's drug use and rape and all that crap. And
that's what they were saying, but then Spider-Man came out and everyone was like, abort, people like fun superhero movies. And so there was like a wild tonal shift in the halfway point, which, I mean, if I know anything about movie making, as someone who doesn't make movies, I'm sure that fixes all the problems. Is completely 180ing halfway through, you're done.
I guess I didn't feel like the movie 180. I mean, I see what you're saying.
I don't think the movie
feel...
itself did, but I can see that, like, I don't think that benefited the whole production. I don't think the first half of the movie is really, really dark, and then the second half is not. But it doesn't feel like a fully realized film. It feels like something that, I mean, it's not a good film.
I guess my thing is, I think that's true. But like I said, I feel like it's I feel like it's so aggressively badass, but without, like, toning anything down. It is badass without realizing how silly it all is.
Mm-hmm. It's played it straight, but it is
Yeah,
not.
all of his, like, jumping around and superhero-y stuff is, like, absolutely absurd.
By superhero-y stuff, do you mean horrible CGI?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It looks so bad.
It's really
The worst
bad.
one being when he, like, kicks Bullseye off of the motorcycle, and they are just, like, two PS3 characters flailing around, and then it cuts to Colin Farrell landing on the ground, and it looks completely different.
The CGI was really bad in this movie. And there was a lot of shot, especially now that knowing that they kind of took Spider-Man and said, we got to make that. People like that.
Is that something they actually said?
Let me see if I can find...
Not that I'm doubting you. I just, when
No,
you
should
said
doubt
that,
me. I could be spitting mad lies.
No, it's just when you said that, it sounded... I guess I just feel like the movie is kind of... It didn't feel like it got more absurd in any way that it wouldn't have progressed anyway.
Well, to be fair...
But maybe you're right.
I mean, to be fair, the director's cut was like a 2-hour-long R-rated movie. Though the original production was geared towards a darker, more adult film, the success of the then-just-released Spider-Man prompted Fox to curb the more mature elements and re-envision the film as a summer action vehicle.
So maybe a lot of that CGI crap was more grounded in the... Not that it would have been better, but maybe it would have looked less silly
The scene in the
Spider-Man.
bar where Daredevil takes out the bikers is longer and more violent in the director's cut. That's what we missed. We missed a thing.
Well, we missed it either way because I doubt that was filmed any better. I could not follow what was happening. He was just like jumping on
The
shit.
final confrontation between Daredevil and the Kingpin is longer and more brutal. See, this is badass. We should have watched this one.
I thought it was brutal when he like kicked his kneecaps off.
How about that? That was brutal. The scene where Bullseye demands his own costume is restored to "I want a fucking costume" as opposed to the theatrical version where he says "I want a bloody costume." Maybe he should make it bloody. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about more brutal. Also, I like this little trivia. Due to the regularity of the movie's excessive scenes, Daredevil was banned in Malaysia. I assume that means like the brutal scenes, but the fact that the regularity of the movie's excessive scenes, like this movie just doesn't end. These scenes are so excessive. Like, nothing happens in these scenes. Why are they here? Ban it in Malaysia.
Why is Jennifer Garner back? What was with Jennifer Garner's like weirdly green eyes? I don't think Elektra's known for weirdly green eyes.
I thought does she have green eyes in the sequel?
I can't
They were really
tell
green.
ya. They are like aggressively green. It is so strange. Speaking of Jennifer Garner and strange, how about the scene where he like awkwardly hits on her and she leaves because he's being kind of creepy, but whatever.
And then he goes to be real creepy again, and she's like, he's Ben Affleck.
When he hits on her at the coffee shop, I was like, this is like creepy and weird, but it's also like of its time where I'm just like, whatever. Like he's hitting on her at a coffee shop, she leaves, we're done with this. I knew that he went out and fought her at a playground, but like he like goes back out there and she's like, why are you following me? I don't like being followed. And then she turns and walks away and he like grabs her arm and she's like, I don't like being touched. And then he's like, whoa, okay, crazy lady. And then they like fucking kung fu fight each other.
They have a literal like start of a video game fight.
And this is like a guy who is like trying to keep his secret identity, who's like, I'm a blind man, but also like I'm gonna attack you with this stick and like backflip off of a seesaw.
I didn't like any of this.
And then after they kung fu fight in a children's park with a bunch of 6-year-olds cheering him on, she's like, never mind, now I'm totally into you.
How about when all the 6-year-olds cheer him on and they're just like, fight, 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 like these two grown-ass adults.
How about when he takes her on the roof and he's like, by the way, I have superpowers, I can see you if it rains. And then later on when she pulls off his mask, she's like, oh my gosh, you're a superhero? And I was like, this dude I don't even know how you still believed he was blind. At no point does he explain how he could do anything. He's just like, grew up on the mean streets of Hell's Kitchen.
How about when they're on the roof and he hears people getting beat up and he's like, I gotta go. And she's like, why? What's wrong?
Why? This is an R-rated film.
Why are you dealing with people? People get beat up every day, Ben Affleck.
To be fair, I don't think she could hear him. Or hear that.
That was his super hearing.
That was his super hearing.
Oh, see, I used my regular hearing for it, so I got confused. But how about when he was like, hey, people are getting beat up, but I'll bang it. I'll pound it out.
I'll smang it. Smash it in, baby.
Instead of smanging criminals, I'll smang you. I was surprised that they didn't show Elektra again. Maybe Jennifer Garner was done with the movie at that point when she died.
What do you mean they didn't show her again?
Yeah.
I guess that was to tease that maybe she's still alive rather than clearly stating that she's still alive, because I don't even know if they knew that sequel spin-off movie was happening yet.
I think they did.
And this was like a pre-MCU, each movie's got to tease the next one sort of thing.
But from Elektra, when we were talking about Elektra, I think I read that Jennifer Garner didn't want to do it, but they like contracted 2 films from her. And so that's why they had to make Elektra. But I didn't like any of this movie, dude.
I didn't either. It's long, it's
boring.
I mean, I will say like some of the stuff is so silly that it's amusing, but not enough to save the whole movie. Just enough for a couple scenes to be
tolerable.
Like so bad it's good. Like their fight on the like Adam West Batman 66 gigantic piano organ thing is like stupid enough that it could have been funny if I hadn't sat through everything else. Colin Farrell, when he like breaks the window because he runs out of belt buckle bolt ninja stars, and he catches a whole bunch of pieces of glass with flat hands and then holds them up like he's in one of those like Flash Newgrounds pizza serving video games. And then he just like goes, "Wah, wah," and they all fly at Daredevil, and he's just like, whoops.
He just backflips over him.
He just like backflips, and they're all just like sailing right over him. And I was like, none of this makes any sense.
I mean, for the guy who never misses, he misses a lot.
For the guy who never misses, he misses a lot in scenes where he absolutely should have made contact. Where Daredevil is not doing what he should be doing in order to avoid getting hit. Doing a bunch of back handsprings is not the way to avoid a whole bunch of...
He makes himself really big when he is like... pushing himself off the ground. I was actually kind of hoping there was going to be a scene where Elektra and Daredevil teamed up. Here's what I want. I hate superhero movies. Everyone knows this. I will run out, I will cheer out into the streets when I sit down to watch a superhero movie and it starts and he's already a fucking superhero and we don't need to watch him be blinded or whatever. Just start in media res, and he's a superhero. And I sit there and I go, look at the guy in the costume. He's a superhero. Also, his name's on the fucking movie.
We started in media res.
But he's not a superhero. He's a guy who's, like, falling down. Like, why am I...
He's wearing a super costume.
But why do I care? I want a movie. We always talk about how all these people have so many good rogues galleries. And everyone just writes the Joker or the other guy that I forget. Venom. And it's like, start your movie off with your superhero fighting like a lesser known villain so we can see like a fun little villain thing, but you just don't have enough ideas to make him the main villain, and then do all your crap. Why am I interested in Ben Affleck falling on the ground and playing a bunch? I understand how that can be cool, and I've talked before about like, hey, it's neat to see a superhero kind of get his shit rocked. But I don't know, this just felt so... He didn't feel strong to me. And especially when you learn that that's like the end of the film. They have their badass scene. Speaking of, I hated everything in this movie. What I really liked was when I meant to integrate it into my brain. There's a point where we transition into the climax of the film, and Evanescence's Bring Me to Life starts, and we get a little montage of Elektra.
Isn't that like during the funeral?
Is it right after the funeral where he says something?
I
He's
think
like,
it
I gotta
is.
protect her. And it's like, how can you see me? And I was like, are you doing this? And it was like, dun, 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 and then they were both training, and I was like, this is total nonsense.
I forgot. How about Elektra in her like sandbag room?
They just like pop down from the ceiling, and then she just stabs
They just like
them.
fall down from the ceiling and she stabs them, and then she has one with the worst, like it looks like
It's like a wolf head.
kindergartner's drawing of a kitty cat.
What's the cat? Why was it a cat?
Because it was supposed to be Daredevil.
Was it? I thought it was...
What did you think it was supposed to be? It was red and
know,
had
everybody
horns.
hated Wilson Fisk in the movie, and I thought I wanted them so bad to like both go to kill Wilson Fisk, and then like, wait a minute, we both want the enemy. The enemy is my friend. But so they do this badass training montage to Evanescence's 2003 hit "Bring Me to Life," and it bumps me up. I almost said humps me up because I was going to say hype and pump. It humps me up, and then they get out into the real world, and Elektra just fucking rocks Daredevil's shit, and then Elektra gets her shit rocked by Hawkeye. I'm just like, what was the fucking point of this Evanescence scene? They're not good. They're not like strong people.
Did you say Hawkeye on purpose?
I said
Or
it
did you just...
because I don't care.
Well, like I said, early on, he's like jumping 30 feet in the air and just like...
He's surfing down so many rails.
Yeah, and like when he fights that bar full of people, he's just like leaping all over stuff, and like somehow every pool table catches on fire. He seems like incredibly super heroic in the way that... Or he feels super. Like, he seems inhuman.
Yes.
But then, like, when he gets into actual, like, quote-unquote superhero fights, he just seems like a guy
Trying his hardest.
awkwardly fighting somebody. Also, his costume's whatever. It's like
It's
fine
whatever.
for like a
It is what it is.
2000s
Yeah.
remake of his costume. But I don't like the weird like goggle eyes on the cowl. One, because they're weirdly long and big. And two, that seems a lot of effort to put into eyes on a costume
not gonna
for a
see
guy
it.
who never needs to use them. There's a joke in one of the comics where I think it's Spider-Man has to put on Matt Murdock's costume for something, I think to appear as Daredevil while... Or maybe he's borrowing the costume because I don't remember. But he makes a point that like the costume actually does not have eye holes because there's no need for them.
That's fun.
And I get it, like, it's fine that it has eye holes or something, but it's just like they're so like weird and big. And he's also like for a lawyer who gets paid in like fish and basketballs.
Where does he get the money?
He has like that weird penthouse with like the 3-lock combination thing to get into a room that has like a weird like stone sculpture.
He like lives in like
Of a
the
bunch-
Catholic church.
He's got like that weird like magic door that like opens like 3 ways, and then he's got like 4 sets of his suit and billy clubs. And the billy club is also like it's attached by a chain to another billy club, but then sometimes it's not, and also sometimes it's just his walking stick. But why?
You never know when you got to be Daredevil.
But he's not wearing the costume underneath his suit.
That we know.
And he's got like the deprivation tank, and it's just fucking weird.
I mean, I guess you could argue that like all his dad's winnings, but it didn't seem like. I mean, it's not like they lived high and mighty when his dad was alive.
Yeah, it seems like they were broke. That's why his dad was working for Falcone or whoever it
Fallon,
was.
Jimmy Fallon, I think it was.
And I didn't like the weird like tie-in at the end where Bullseye throws the little rose on Elektra, and I was like, oh yeah, that's from the beginning. And I had like completely forgotten that Kingpin had nothing to do with Murdock's dad's death. And then at the end he's like, I did have something to do with your dad's death because the roses are my thing. And I was like, did we have to tie this together? Does it matter?
Yeah, because that gives him that's the vengeance. He was like, I love 2 people, and you took them from me, my papa and my girlfriend.
Stupid.
It's real dumb.
The whole movie's dumb. The movie's bad. It is paced horribly. It's so slow. There is like a point like in the middle where scenes last like a second. And it's not like the Spider-Man scenes where like
It's saying
here to
something?
establish one. Yeah, it's not establishing a bit of information. It is just like, here's a scene and then we're done. I can't think of any of them, but I remember there being a ton of scenes that it was just like one thing happens and then we move.
Well, like you said, I mean,
And we get a ton of shots of like overhead over New York as it like zooms around.
we are introduced to a lot of people that don't really matter. Like, again, at the very beginning, you just see Matt Murdock as a dude that is like mad with if he loses his lawyer fights, and then he just murders the people that he hoped to put away in prison. And then he doesn't really, there's not a through line story.
It's, I am a vengeful madman that does the murder, and 2, I am not gonna do a murder on the guy that I would want to murder the most.
You mentioned Fisk hires Bullseye, and then that's just kind of said and done. But then like 15 minutes later, Bullseye shows up on a motorcycle, or in a bar, I guess. Like, everything is so weirdly disjointed.
What was the point of hiring Bullseye other than to get a supervillain in the movie?
I don't think there is one.
He wants to make it look like Elektra's dad is the Kingpin. And so, because Elektra's dad
Was
works
that
for the
his
Kingpin,
plan?
but he wants out. Yes. So he wants out.
Well, I knew that, but
And-
when does Fisk say he's pinning it on?
So he says like, make a paper trail to
Oh,
make
you're
it
right.
They want a Kingpin. We'll make Nachios look like
That's
the
right.
Kingpin. And I was like, okay, fine. He's like, get me Bullseye. And you would think he wanted Bullseye because Bullseye never misses. And so he's like the perfect hitman to get this guy killed in a way that like doesn't draw attention. And instead, Bullseye rides in on a motorcycle standing on top of it.
He makes all the
backflips,
attention.
throws a million things, blows up a car, uses Daredevil's billy club, and then rattlesnakes off into the sunset. And I don't understand why.
I don't either.
If he wanted him dead so that they would find the paper trail or whatever, they could have had literally anybody else kill him. It's not like Kingpin needed to pay. I assume Bullseye costs a lot of money, especially to fly him in from, not that it's super expensive to fly someone from somewhere.
Not
but,
at this.
you know,
Not in 2003.
fly him in from another country, give him his stupid ass costume. He doesn't
He doesn't have a costume.
have a
Why
costume.
did he ask
has
for
a
costume?
He has a stupid uniform that he wears, and he has a giant bullseye on his forehead, and then he looks directly at multiple people, including a police chopper, and then he's like, no one's ever going to find me. I'm a master of disguise. I just put on
a little beanie.
a little beanie. And then
Nobody knows who I am. You mentioned that Matt Murdock has a secret identity, but I feel like a lot of people know who he is. He tells his priest, which I guess is fair. I'm not Catholic. Maybe you tell your priest that. Is that a thing from
A
the
lot
comics?
of people find out, and also another thing I was going to say about his cowl, it is easily pulled off.
Everybody pulls it off.
There's no, like, it is literally like a hat that hangs a little low on his head. You just yank that thing right off. And every time it gets pulled off of him, he's always like looking around like
He has this goofy dazed look. I don't know blind people. Maybe they do that, but yeah, he always acts like he just like woke up from a dream. He's like, where the hell am I? I don't know.
Anyway, what were you asking about? Is that what it's like in the comics? Does
Do
his
people
mask
know?
get ripped
Yeah,
off?
no.
every
Do
2
people know who he is? Like his little father buddy and his other people. I think
I
it just felt like
think so.
many, especially since it ends on the thing where Ulrich is like, I'm going to backspace through my whole 400-word essay to not reveal map.
How about he has the button that says print and the button that says delete, and when you press the delete button once, it just like slowly...
No, I think he held it. But I don't know why he didn't, highlight the text. He should have highlighted the text.
Or just, I don't know, delete the file.
Is your print... Do you have a print button on your... I mean, I guess that exists. I guess in 2022, they don't put print buttons on keyboards. I don't have a print button on my keyboard, and delete is not actually next to anything. I mean, it is, but not anything of note. I guess you gotta make the movie work. But yeah, it is goofy to watch him just like hit delete instead of print. And you're like, oh yeah, he made the right choice because Daredevil was going to kill the shit out of him. But then it like zooms back and he's just like sitting there watching it delete letter by letter. It's just like, you could just like close out of the Word document.
Close it, then drag that Word document to the trash bin.
And then you look out the window and tell Daredevil that you'll be a good boy.
And then Daredevil slowly nods.
And then he does the I'm watching you.
How about how Fisk is like, I want everyone to think Nachios is the Kingpin, and then that doesn't matter at all, actually.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know how he gets, at the end, Daredevil's like, the cops are coming, and they know you're the Kingpin. I was like, how? What evidence do they have?
Apparently that's in the R-rated cut.
Did Colin Farrell live through getting chucked out of the church window and landing on Ulrich's car?
No, he's super died. No, he's the same.
Or Urich's car, I mean.
How about when Daredevil is like, I'm not a bad guy, even though I just threw somebody out to his death?
How about when he murders multiple people and he's like, I'm not the bad guy, little kid. I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy dressed like a daredevil.
How about how many...
I'm dressed like a demon, but I'm a good guy.
How about how many people get punched to death in this movie? Before Bullseye shows up, everyone just gets punched to death.
How about when Bullseye shows up and he chucks a whole bunch of ninja stars while riding on top of a motorcycle weaving through traffic and blows up that car, and then Elektra sees the Billy Club in her dad's
It's like,
chest
it must
and
have
goes,
been Daredevil.
did this.
How about when Kevin Smith showed up in the movie? And he was like, I also wrote Daredevil.
How about when Kevin Smith shows up and he's like, look at this, the guy with a secret identity made something to clearly attach it to him and only
There's
him.
only one blind guy in Hell's Kitchen. Who do you think owns this? Jon Favreau is really young in this.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got to say about him.
He drinks mustard tea.
Why does he... Okay, at the end of the movie, when Ben Affleck's like, I'm going to go outside because my girlfriend's dead. And Foggy's like, okay, you take care, buddy. And then he smells his coffee. Like, Ben Affleck is not the jokester. He's not just putting honey or mustard in people's coffees.
Maybe he is.
Maybe
that's her thing. Maybe that's why he did it. He was like, I'm going to give him this honey. And then he's like, he's not making us any money. And also, he keeps putting mustard in my tea. Maybe this time I'm going to get him. I'm going to bamboozle him.
Maybe that was it. It was just weird because it was like, you did that to yourself last time. Why would you think he just like did that now? Like,
No, I agree with you.
Well, you shouldn't.
Okay, I don't.
Remember
You're on your own, buddy.
Remember when Elektra and Ben Affleck bumped uglies, and then he woke up, and then she was like, "Come to my gala." Why did she leave that?
Remember when he goes to her gala, and then she's up on the balcony, and then Foggy's like, "I wish I could give you my eyeball." And then he's like,
what a dumbass
you want me to
line.
walk you up there? And then he's like, no, I got this. And then we watch him like echolocate through a bunch of people blowing smoke in his fucking
We
face.
watched him literally jump around a dingy club, murdering everybody. And this is like, oh my god, can Daredevil make it up the stairs when people are carrying drinks?
I like how if rain or water sprays all over you, he's basically got sight. But if there's a loud noise, which I don't know, feel like would probably be kind of similar,
It hurts him.
then he's like blind. his powers make no sense. Sometimes he has like super hearing that's all over the place. Sometimes not. Sometimes like if there's a loud noise, he's like blinded.
But he can also like bang
echolocation
on a
doesn't
little
work.
thing, and that overtakes the loud noise.
And then he's like, if it rains a whole bunch, which would be a whole bunch of noise everywhere, which I understand how that could outline something, but I feel like that would also just be like a cacophony of noise that would also be detrimental to you outside of like looking at the one thing, which I guess is fine if you're just trying to fight the Kingpin directly in front of your face. I like how when he turns on the rain, he's like, I'm supercharged now. You pulled off my mask and I was in a daze, but now I echolocated your water pipes and turned on your sprinkler system, and now I'm supercharged. I'm back and ready for more. Now watch me slide between your legs.
I'm going to break your knees
Bust
so
your
hard
kneecaps.
because I'm not a villain. I'm a hero. Villains don't
tell
break
everyone
kneecaps.
a blind man did this.
He's just like, tell your stupid prison friends you got beat up by a blind guy. Oh my god. This movie sucks. I don't want to talk about it, but I want to hear you tell me more about when two grown-ass adults fucking fight in a children's playground.
I hated it. It's so, like, gross in that he is, like, aggressive towards her. Then they, like, fight for no fucking reason, and he smirks through the whole thing.
And they land on
He, like, tosses his stupid
oh my god.
cane in the air, and then he pulls off his jacket and then catches the cane, and it's supposed to be badass, and it looks so fucking stupid.
That's what I was saying. They, like, pulled out really far, so it looks like two people lined up for the 2D fighting game. And then all the kids, like, bang on the fences like caged orangutan. Fight! One of you guys is a lawyer. What are you doing? You're grown-ass adults.
What if you guys is a lawyer? What if you guys is a lawyer and has a very important secret identity as a blind man? And you're like, let's go to this public place and karate fight each other. No one will ever find out I'm the vigilante.
Oh my god.
How about when she's like, my dad wanted me to train for all this stuff so that I wouldn't ever become a victim, but also he has a sandbag room for me. Where I just stab all the sand.
How come they didn't show the scene where she has to fill it back up with sand? She has to sew them all back together.
She's just grabbing handfuls of sand and trying to hold it as close as she can while still like chucking it in and more still.
She like comes back to life and she's like, I gotta go fill up those fucking sandbags. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god. Oh boy.
She goes to the one that has a picture of a red cat on it and takes a heart
bleach
over it.
Oh, bleach this stupid cat man. Wait, no, this was Daredevil? Oh my god.
Now I gotta make one of the Bullseye Man.
How do I make a Bullseye Man one? I gotta kill that guy now. How about when he first meets her in the coffee shop and he hits her with his cane and he's like, whoops! And she's like, yeah, whoops indeed. And then he's like, can I ask you your name? Or he's like, I didn't see you. And she's like, yeah, what are you, blind? And he's like, haha. And I was like, didn't you know that? He hit you with his cane. I mean, I guess anybody can carry one of these canes, but like, that's not a thing that people carry.
I like how she walks into this place, sits down, doesn't even order anything. A man walks up to her, smacks her with his cane, and aggressively hits on her. And then she gets up and goes, you know what? I don't need this today. And fucking leaves. And he's like, I gotta go follow that. This is going so well. I can't let it end here.
He's like, I put away rapists because I am one.
I'm not the bad guy.
Is that what he said when they were done making love? I'm not the bad guy. You totally consented. Also, why did you leave me the gala invite again? You already invited me once. Ben Affleck's not good.
This movie.
Is he in things? He's in Good Will Hunting.
His hair is like, I think it's like a 90s
I
thing.
don't know
his hair
what
is,
the
like,
fuck
weird.
is happening with his hair. I guarantee it's a 90s thing because if they don't have Ben Affleck's hair, they all have frosted tips. They're like Wilson Fisk's like fourth in command and in charge of his entire like estate. And he's like, I frost my tips. I'm a 40-year-old insurance salesman. I frost my tips. It's 2003. Be crazy not to.
His hair is like weirdly unkempt in a way that seems purposeful.
Oh, it totally is. It's not unkempt enough that it feels like legit bedhead. But it's like, I style my hair so it looks like I don't care.
And to be fair, as someone who likes to style his hair so it looks like he doesn't care, it is weird the way he does. And it's also like slightly, Matt Murdock is a known redhead. And so his hair is like slightly reddish.
There's like a red tinge to it.
But it comes off in the same way Jennifer Garner's eyes do, where it is just like weird and unnatural and just kind of like draws your attention in a way that something so small should not. Also, how about he's like a crazy, super cool, badass fighter man, but then when we see him go home, he like pulls out a tooth and has to pop a whole bunch of Vicodin, and he has like scars all over.
That's so badass.
And I was like, I just watched you like wreck all these people. What the hell popped your tooth out?
It's badassness. Maybe he doesn't brush. They didn't show the real villain. Tooth decay. Gingivitis.
He goes to the dentist, and they're like, do you even floss? He goes, I'm not the bad guy.
Bad guy. Look at my weapon. It looks like floss. How could I not floss? I'm not the bad guy.
Is there anything else?
I'm just being, how about watching a superhero movie and then listening to your superhero just be like, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. Well, you murdered a bunch of people, man. Then he goes to work the next day and he's just like, I'm not the bad guy, Foggy. Do they call him Foggy in this?
I think so.
Good for them. I don't understand. Maybe it's, I'm sure it's not the extra 30 minutes I need in the R-rated director's cut. But I like Foggy, I guess. He was kind of goofy. How he keeps telling Ben Affleck the wrong thing. I don't know. That was fine. Apparently there's a scene in the cut version, or in the director's cut, where Ben Affleck's at the funeral. So Foggy has to like run the trial, and he's floundering about because he can't read Braille.
That sounds fine.
Sounds totally fine.
I mean, there's more interesting ideas in that scene alone than the rest of the movie.
I mean, I don't know. Foggy felt like a goofy, fun character.
He's in like 2 scenes though.
And I think both his scenes, he's just like, we need rich people clients, and then Ben Affleck is just like,
I'm not the bad guy.
I don't defend bad guys, and I'm not one. I'm Daredevil. Hey, there's a lot of CGI backflip kicks in this movie. He like kicks his childhood bully with that move.
Oh yeah, what the fuck was with that? Where he, at the beginning, that was like the first time the action was like incomprehensible. He like smacks the one kid, he like puts his cane on the kid's shoulder as the kid turns to walk away. And then the kid like turns around and he like hits him around the head. And then one kid runs fucking screaming. Like the kid grew bat wings and started eating the other. And he like, I think he like slams that kid into like a fence, and then the third kid, it suddenly cuts, and he's like backflip kicking this other kid in the head. It's absolute insanity.
The bad guy. I like how we start off and he's getting Murdoch's getting bullied, and then he goes home and his papa is like, only hit books. Be a lawyer. Then they go through all that, and then his father dies, and then he becomes blinded. No, he becomes blinded, then his father dies.
Blinded first, yeah.
And then the bullies show back up, and they're like, round 2. I'm like, are they bullies, or is this just like something they do like once every 6 months? Like,
I was thinking the same thing.
There was like a big time gap here. I don't know. I hate this movie, dude.
I do too. Seth, give me 2 put-ups.
I liked when... I really wish I remembered what Ben Affleck said before we broke into Evanescence's Bring Me to Life for the montage.
I'm not the bad guy.
I'm not the bad guy. Yeah, I actually laughed out loud at that. That broke me. I sat there for a long time just being like, this is the most boring movie ever. And then it did that to me, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And then after they hyped me up, they tore me down by just making them get beat up real quick. My second put up, maybe a cop-out, but I don't know. I'm sure I could say something, but I actually kind of liked all the Thing I Know references. They mentioned a lot of Daredevil writers.
There are so many name drops. I think literally every character who is not like a main character.
Which I don't know, I'll take. That was fine in this movie. It was fun at the beginning to just be like, hey, I know that thing. Hey, I know that thing. Like, it was neat to see Ramita on the fight sign or whatever. I don't know. It's probably a cop-out, but for as much as, back when comic book movies didn't exist like this, and when people weren't like, pay the people what they're due, but the movies are kind of different than the comic books now, and I don't know. You paid for hire. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. But like, as little head nods and stuff, I'll take this. It seemed like people who like Daredevil wanted to make a Daredevil movie, and then you see Kevin Smith in it, and you're like, the guy loves Daredevil, he just wanted to be in a Daredevil movie. My put down, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot. The problem is like, my put down is kind of just like, the movie sucks, and it's boring, and it's not worth the time. But to isolate that into one thing, are you kidding me? I will say Elektra and Daredevil's fight at the end, when she stabs him in the shoulder, was boring and dumb.
My first put up is going to be, I liked when Colin Farrell smashes a stained glass window and catches all of the shards of glass like they're fucking pizza pies. If the whole movie had been that stupid,
It would have been like Batman and Robin.
I think.
So here's the thing. Not to cut you off here. Well, to cut you off, but I don't mean it viciously. So I was reading, this is the second worst rated superhero movie to Batman and Robin. And I know we've talked about this before, and at some point we'll need to watch Batman and Robin again. But like,
Throw it on the poll.
that's like a fun movie. I can see hating everyone that hates that movie.
I do hate everyone who hates
But, like,
that movie.
How do you say that's the worst superhero movie? When you got this is so fucking boring.
Because everybody wants Batman to be serious, and there's hive mind bullshit.
And I don't know, has it been like retroactively critiqued lately? Like, do people like it yet?
There have been like a couple people who have gone on record saying like it's not as bad as everyone says. But I think most people, I don't think it has had that resurgence where people are like, it's actually good. But I don't know. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but I did watch it. I've watched it at least in the last decade.
But at least, like,
and I remember really
Batman and
liking
Robin
it.
knew what it was. This, like we said at the beginning, this felt badass and played straight. But at times it was just like, it totally missed the mark, and it was just like weirdly machismo. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that.
My second put up is going to be, I mean, I know a very clear put down. I am struggling to think of my put up. I think it's got to be Bullseye riding in on a fucking motorcycle.
It is weird.
And just like standing on top. It is like so.
He kills Frank Miller to get the motorcycle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy who has a pencil in his brain, that's Frankie Miller.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't either. I read it in the trivia.
Everything with him, like every scene with him, I think is fun. Like in a completely different movie, I think it'd be more fun. I mean, he's clearly just like going for it and chewing scenery and having fun. And I always find that kind of stuff infectious.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the movie gets absurd. So I'm going to say the motorcycle. My put down, I mean, there could be nothing else but that fucking schoolyard fight. It's gross. It's gross because it is like weirdly predatory, especially when, like you said at the opening, it's like, that guy's a rapist and I gotta stop him. And then he's like, I'm also gonna like harass this young woman.
But he's a hot young Ben Affleck. How could anybody
It's gross.
say no?
It's stupid. It makes no sense. It goes on for too long.
How about when... This is stupid. Totally unrelated to anything. How about when Jennifer Garner comes in and Foggy's like... Or no. Anyways, how about when they're in the top of the building and he's like, hold on, don't leave yet. It's going to rain and then I'll be able to see you. And then it rains and he's like, oh my God, you're beautiful. What if he was just like, Jesus Christ, oh my God. Why didn't Foggy tell me? Then he just jumped off the building. Anyways, that's where that goes.
So where did you put this? Where did you put this in your ranking of every movie ever?
Did I like this more or worse? More or less is the better way to phrase that than the infamous Incredible Hulk, which I loved.
I have a bad feeling that you liked this less than Incredible
More.
Hulk.
I liked it more than the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, good.
Also, for as much shit as I get for the Incredible Hulk, when we literally watched 3 movies at the point, there are only 5 movies below the Incredible Hulk
I know.
on my 50-plus movies.
So is it immediately above Incredible Hulk?
I
then?
like Elektra more than Daredevil, because like we said at the beginning, Elektra was at least like kind of fun to watch in a bad way. Daredevil is too boring. You hear a lot of stuff with like so bad they're good movies, where you get some that are just, the laughs are not worth the price of admission. And this is that instance.
So I also have this under Elektra, but that puts it the second lowest on my list. This was a slog to sit through. It sits only above Swamp Thing because Swamp Thing was even more of a slog to get through, but there is very little redeeming it. And like you said, Elektra at least has fun stuff that I remember. It's bad, but it's like fun bad.
I like Swamp Thing more than you did, but I was going to compare this to Swamp Thing and how you receive Swamp Thing, where it was just like, it's boring. And, like, the few campy bits don't save it. And same thing here, like, it's boring, and the few just, like, over-the-top bits don't save it. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter at SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter at SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter at TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube at SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with Interference.
Watcher. Boop, boop.
Seth, now that the mics are off, what are we watching
Andrew,
next week?
I almost forgot to interrupt you. Yeah, we're kind of in a weird holding pattern-ish thing, so I don't know where we're
'Cause I
going.
don't think
We might watch
Ms. Marvel
Yeah, I think
until
we
June.
might watch Ms. Marvel after this. We won't. I think we need to watch more crap, but I don't know when this will go up, because since I had Morbius scheduled for 2 weeks from now, and that's not going to be a thing. Blade and Elektra are in. We need 3 things before Ms. Marvel starts. So I assume Daredevil is going to be thrown in where Morbius was supposed to be, and then hopefully I assume Morbius will be out in at least by October, so they can cash in on the